Welcome to the 9th video in our series about using Unix tools from your Windows desktop. As you can see, I've already started the terminal emulator. Last time we learned how to make directories, and we'll start out by making a directory called Thursday and going into that directory. As you can see, it's empty. There's nothing in there except itself, dot, and its parent, which are always there. So let's make some files. The only way we know how to make files is with nano, so let's do it with nano. And when we look, you'll see we have 3 files, file 1, file 2, and file 3. We can use that cat command that works well for short text files to verify the contents. Okay, let's quickly create another file that's a little bit different. Not my best typing ever, but I think we got it. And you can see that hi.py is there. One thing you can also see is our file permissions are not very good. First, we'd like to say we need to make hi.py be readable, writable, and executable by the user, and then we don't want group and other to access it. And you can see the permissions have changed as requested. If we run hi.py, you can see there it is, no problem. One thing that's really ugly is this bright green. For some reason, many people love to have colorized everything. On some systems, you can do an alias and you can see something about ls, but we don't have one. But it turns out if we do ls-h for help, it doesn't work. And we try help and then it, and we could say color equal never. So if we ls-l color equal never, we get the black the way we'd like to. So in another video, I'll show you how to make that change stick, but for now, let's just start on the globbing. Globbing is another word for wildcards. There are 2 wildcards that you'll use a lot. The first one is the star, which allows 0 or more anything, and the other one is the question mark, which allows any single letter. To practice using globbing, it's best to use the echo command. Echo just returns whatever you type. So if we say echo and we try star, you see you get all the files. If we say echo star.txt, we only got the text files. We did not get the Python file. If we do star.py, we just get the Python file. If you've ever used CMD window on your Windows system, it also supports wildcards. The Unix wildcards and the DOS wildcards are not exactly the same, but the concept is. How do we use the question mark? Well, we can do something like this. File question mark text. and that will get you any of these. Let's make another text file that doesn't match the pattern. So this time, if I say echo file question text, you can see trouble doesn't show. But if I did echo star.text, it does. And it's right here. So star is used a lot with extensions, but you can also put the star in other places. You can do an echo f star. That's every file that starts with the F. Echo T star, every file that starts with trouble. You could do an echo file question dot star, and that seems a little silly, but there it is. The file command was a typo, sorry about that. But echo file star, and you see it worked. So that, what does this pattern really mean? That says it has to have F-I-L-E as the first 4 letters, then it can have any letter you want, then it must have a dot, and then anything else. And you say, anything else? Sure. We can take nano and create a new file, but that's kind of hard work. Let's use the copy command instead. We'll copy file1.txt and we'll create file a.dog. And we'll run the same thing. And you can see file a.dog matched. But if we did echo file question.text, the dog doesn't match. And if we do echo star.dog, the text files don't match. So star is for 0 or more letters of anything. Question mark is for exactly 1 letter. If you want all the files that end with G, easy. All the files that have an E anywhere in it. Okay, every file except hi.py had it. So that's how the wildcards work, and echo is a great way to test before you actually use it with a real command. What commands do the wildcards work with? They work with the commands we've learned already. CP for copy, MV, which does renaming and moving, RM, which removes or erases, deletes files, and ls. So I did an echo star G, and that just gave the name. I could do an ls minus L, and that gives me the long listing of all the files that match that pattern, that glob. And now you start to see that using the globs, after you learn them, and there's only these 2 letters, star and the question mark, and you can work with sets of files or groups of files that have similar names. Let's make a directory called the bin, and then let's decide that we want to move all the text files to the bin. So mv star.text the bin. And if we look, there are no text files here, and if we look inside the bin, the text files are in there. Or we could go into the bin and look, and we really are in the bin. To move them back, we could just say move everything back to the parent. ... is the parent. And when we do that, there's nothing here. Everything's back. Let's move all the Python files to the bin. You can see it's there. It's not here. How can we move things from a directory back to where we are now? We can move the bin, everything inside of it, to here, dot, this directory. And we've done it. The bin is now empty, so we can remove it. And we're back to our original list. I hope you understand the concept of wildcards. Unix calls them globbing. They're very useful. Test it with the echo first to make sure you get the files you want, and then use it with your mvcprmls command that you want to use it with.